Other Side, Mississippi Today's political podcast. I'm politics and government editor Geoff Pender, joined here today with Taylor Vance. Taylor, how are you?
Hey, Geoff, I'm good.
Good. And we have a special guest today. Why don't you do the introductions?
Sure. Thank you, Geoff. So today we are glad to be joined by Representative Price Wallace. He's the House member for District 77, which includes Rankin and Simpson counties. He is the chairman of the House Constitution Committee, a very, very easy, non-controversial committee. But I think most importantly, he will be co-chairing a committee probably over the fall to examine felony suffrage, voting rights, ballot initiative, all sorts of very simple, easy issues. Representative Wallace, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here this morning. Glad to see y'all. Thank you for inviting me to come on your podcast.
Yeah, yes, sir. So I think just to kick us off, I talked about it a little bit. Do you mind just talking about the committee that you and Representative Noah Sanford of Covington County are planning to co-chair sometime over the fall, and some of the issues that y'all are planning to look at?
Well, first off, I like to thank Speaker Jason White for asking me to serve on this committee, and it's an honor to serve with Representative Sanford. I think he is an excellent chairman. Speaker White, last year, I had a suffrage bill and restoring voting rights, and Speaker White was very supportive of it. But I didn't bring it out because I knew the numbers wasn't there. The votes was not there, and Speaker White kind of felt the same way, and so he was okay with holding up on bringing the bill out, and I think that's why he's set this committee up so we can get some work done before session starts. Once session starts, everybody's in a rush to get their stuff passed. And I like the way the Speaker White set these committees up. We can work in the off season and get everything like it needs to be. If there's any tension or any ideas that somebody doesn't like, we can work that out in that off season and then have it ready to go to whatever committee it needs to go to when we're back in session. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm also on the the Capital City Revitalization Committee, and the squatters bill. That's one of the things that we talked about last year before session. It passed. The panhandling bill. That's another one we talked about and we worked on. We had people come in, and talk to the committee members. And if I know y'all both were there, so you saw how those bills passed through the chambers and got to the other end and passed, and now the governor has signed it. So, being able to have these off-season committee meetings, I think, is a real positive thing for us House members to be able to get legislation passed.
One thing we pointed out before, this kind of allows more transparency and more people to have input, and the public gets to see more of what y'all are considering too, right? To y'all's credit, it's a more open process, it appears.
Definitely. I was speaking with my circuit clerk just this week, and he was asking me about the early voting that, he knows I'm on that committee. And I told him, I said, if you want to come up there, I said, it's an open meeting. I said, the public can come, so yeah, you're right. The transparency is there. So the public knows what's going on. But yeah, I'm happy to be on this committee, and so we're going to look at all the issues that the speaker has tasked us with.
Chairman Wallace, some maybe just to back up a little bit, some people may not be fully up on the the issue when we talk about felony suffrage. Can you give us a brief, just where do we stand right now in Mississippi, and what are y'all looking to address?
Well, right now, there's disenfranchising crimes. There's a little over 13 of them. I can't name them all off, but those, if you're convicted of that, you lose your voting rights,
and you lose them for life, even after
that's right.
you've gotten out of prison.
The bill I had last year was a one-time offense. You might have messed up when you was a teenager or early 20s. Now you're contributing to society. You got a job. You probably have a family, but you don't have the right to vote, and you don't have your rights, your suffrage rights. And we pass suffrage bills every year, but you have to, to do that individual has to go to his or her representative and ask them, hey, will you drop this bill to restore my rights? And then obviously it goes to committee, and then the committee chair decides whether or not they're going to take it up. And if they do, and it passes the House floor and then gets to the other end and passes the Senate, that doesn't necessarily mean the governor's going to sign it. If the governor doesn't sign it, all this has been done for naught. And what we're looking at doing is trying to do away with that. In other words, you have, like I said, if it's a one-time offense, this is not going to be something that's ongoing. In other words, you commit a crime, you get your rights back, and then 10 years down the road, you do something else. This is a one-time offense, and that's it. And it would be, my bill was after you had a 5-year period after you was released from your sentence, that you had to pay restitution, pay all fees, court fees, anything. And then once that was done, then you would go to your circuit judge and say, hey, I want you to restore my rights. And so we're going to talk about that, I know, in the committee.
I think when people sort of get on this topic, their back kind of goes up. They can kind of retreat into a corner. And this is a sensitive subject. And to your credit, you and the House have been willing to take it on and explore it. And, I know something Speaker White has said in either press conferences or various meetings. He has referenced you, and he said, this is not a liberal issue. If someone wants to, I think I'm paraphrasing, but he said, I think someone would be hard pressed to question the conservative bona fides or credentials of Price Wallace. So I would just ask you, why is this issue important to you? Why do you think this is something worth exploring, and why is this important to you?
I have a compassionate heart. I'll be perfectly honest. I just, I guess that's the way I was brought up. You don't judge a book by its cover. And, I've in my life, in my daily life, some people I've dealt with that has had legal issues, and they just made a mistake, and they paid for it, and they're great citizens. But I'm gonna just say, just my upbringing and my compassion for my fellow man. I'm a firm believer in second chance.
Well, that, like Taylor alluded to, this is, I don't know, over many years, it's been kind of a partisan issue, but I don't know. You got to wonder now why that continues to be. We're looking at some laws that are rules with it that are way outdated. Some of them date back to some Jim Crow policies and stuff. It just, should this continue to be partisan? I mean, It seems like it should cross that divide at least.
I've reached across the aisle to my colleagues on the Democrat side, and they're very supportive of it. They support it more so than a conservative Republican. But, to me, this issue is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It's allowing that this man or woman, whatever the case may be, the opportunity to have their voice heard in their local elections. Like I said, they're out there working. They're paying taxes just like you and me. And yet they can't have a decision on who, represents them in their local government or statewide government or whatever the case may be. And I'll say this, just because we're going to restore their voting rights doesn't necessarily mean that person is going to go and ask for their rights to be restored. We're just going to give them the opportunity to, and some of my colleagues feel like, that they're not going to get reelected if these people are able to vote. Well, how do you know that person's not going to vote Republican? Why or vote Democrat, whatever the case may be.
That's a good point.
They might even vote independent. I'm just saying, all I'm trying to do is just give them that ability. Now, it's left up to that person as to whether or not they pursue that avenue to have those rights restored. So, we're just giving them the opportunity. We ain't forcing them to go do it. So that's kind of rubs me the wrong way with some of the members that has a problem with it. But if they watch this podcast, I probably might get some phone calls from them. But anyway, I tell it like it is. The way I see it, I'm not going to sugarcoat it or anything.
There's likely a lot of Republicans this affects, just like that there are some a lot of Democrats. Mistakes aren't partisan in nature.
With a lot of my colleagues in the House, on the Republican side, and most all of them are in support of this. Some of them have some issues, and I think it's something that we'll work on in this committee. Is some of those issues that some of the members have to iron it where we can get the bill passed. I really and truly, like I said before, I'm happy that Speaker White has set these committee meetings up so we can work out these issues before we get into session.
Any communications at this point with your counterparts in the Senate, or does that come later? In any idea where this would stand over there?
No, we hadn't yet. And I know, like, say the ballot initiative bill, the one last year that we passed, and it didn't go to the Constitution over there. It went to AET, which was Chairman Parker. And since they have redrawn that district up there in DeSoto County, I understand he's not running again. So we don't know who the chairman of that committee is going to be. So until they get their committees reorganized, no, we won't be able to talk to anybody because you don't necessarily know who's going to be in what chairmanship over there.
Well, so you mentioned the ballot initiative. That is something that has kind of vexed the Capitol, and that there hasn't been just a ton of traction. But I believe the House has passed a version two or three times.
Representative Shanks passed it when he was chair of Constitution. And then when I became chair of Constitution, we passed it again because he handled the bill again. But it would go down to the other end, to the Senate, and it never would get out of committee. So this past session, I spoke with Speaker White, and I was like, why don't we wait and see what the Senate's going to do? And so about a month into this past session, the Senate hadn't done anything, and so the Speaker White, said, "Look, we need to do something with the ballot initiative." So I changed some things up in the bill and brought the bill back out. And in our Republican caucus meeting that we have every Tuesday, I brought the bill up to the caucus members, and there were some issues that some of the members had. I just didn't feel like I had the numbers, so I didn't even bring the bill up this year. And I dang sure knew it wasn't going to pass down to Senate. I don't already talked to some people from the Lieutenant Governor's office, and I could get the feeling that that they weren't going to take it up. They had their ideas that they wanted to have on the bill, but they didn't have a bill. So instead of, and I think I told you this, Taylor, instead of getting up on the floor and fighting it out and knowing that it wasn't going to go no further than the House, I just, it wasn't no need in me doing anything. So I feel that's another thing that the committee is going to look at. I like the bill I had. One of the things was you had for the signatures, you had to have 12% of the voters that voted in the last presidential election. And I think we had I'm just going to guess a little over 2 million voted in the last election. So 12% of that was going to be like 140 something thousand, which was from the bill previous in 2024 session. My numbers was like 180,000 because we was going with 8% of the registered voters. So, I made some changes. Anyhow, I feel like we're going to bring that bill up, and that's the one we'll discuss in the committee.
Yeah.
So,
what is the signature, the signature threshold, or the number of signatures that someone would have to gather? Is that the main sticking point with this ballot initiative issue?
I think so. I really truly do. The Senate wants a higher number. Another thing that I've done on my previous bill was, instead of going with the 4 congressional districts, I changed it to the 3 Supreme Court districts. Because it would be a whole lot easier. That was one of the sticking points. Was we used to have 5 districts and congressional districts, and then when they went to 4, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's never been corrected in the statutes.
Yeah,
so
you're right. And the Supreme Court districts are, I believe, they're larger districts, because it's just 3 of them.
Yeah,
larger districts than the congressional districts.
You would be able to be 33% of each Supreme Court. That'd be the signatures you would have to get. So it'd be basically 12% of the registered voters, but 33% from each of the 3 districts.
Chairman Wallace, we've seen lots of polling on this issue over several years. I think we did one ourselves, 1 or 2. You feel pretty confident the people want this right restored, right? To be able to put stuff directly to a ballot.
Yeah, they do.
Do you hear that from your constituents? Is this something?
Oh, yeah. I go to the coffee shop and the breakfast and lunch areas, and they see me, and that's one of the questions they ask. What about the ballot initiative? I don't know if they have one they want to put on, or but
people just want the right.
They want that right to be able to, if the case arises. Yeah.
I guess part of the argument has been, though, the modern day ballot initiatives, big money interests can come in sometimes and kind of usurp that process. So I guess, is there a balancing act there to make sure that's not easily done, that somebody can't just come in and buy their way onto a ballot? Or
Oh yeah. You first off, you got to be a citizen of the state of Mississippi to get these signatures to do the ballot initiative. Now, granted, I'm sure that outside source could come and approach that citizen to do it, but I feel that's going to protect our way of doing things. Is it has to be a citizen. It can't be an outside person coming into state setting up an initiative. And I know some of my colleagues, one of the things that they're concerned about is legalization of marijuana. I don't see the people of Mississippi wanting that. I mean, there's probably a handful out there that do, but it's not enough to support an initiative. I put a lot more trust in the citizens of the state of Mississippi to put things on the ballot that would do good for the citizens.
Well, that's been part of the debate. Do you feel like it ought to be wide open, whatever they get the signatures for, put it in, or should there be prohibitions on? There's been debate on prohibiting abortion on the ballot or recreational marijuana. How do you feel? Should it be just?
My bill has limitations. It's not a wide open, anything goes. So like abortion cannot be on it, cannot be an initiative. The PERS can't be, they can't have an initiative on PERS. Right to work, there cannot be an initiative on right to work. I know that's another one. And there's two or three others. I can't call them off the top of my head, but anyhow, yeah, there's going to be some restrictions on the ballot initiative. And also in my bill, we had an alternative initiative to, whatever the public put on there, then the legislature would have an alternative initiative.
Which we had before, right?
Yeah, we've had that, but that's right.
I think something else to keep in mind and just remind our listeners here is number one, it's an extremely high bar for the legislature. There has to be a 2/3 majority in both chambers, for y'all to start the process of restoring the initiative. But two, the voters will have the final say, because if it's changing the Constitution, it has to go back before the voters on a statewide ballot, and they have to approve it.
This would be a statute.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Because y'all are only proposing that citizens have the ability to change statutes, not the Constitution.
Right. That's right.
But I guess what I'm just reminding people of is, in order for y'all to correct and bring back the process for any type of initiative, it still has to go before the voters for them to approve.
That's correct.
On a statewide ballot. Yeah.
Because this is in the Constitution.
Yes. Again,
that's right.
The Constitution Committee, again, it's a very, very simple, easy committee to lead.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no issues in Constitution. I was very surprised as to just how much goes on in that committee for it not to have a whole lot going on. I don't know if it sounds right or not, but I never imagined. It's a very important committee. It's very important. I mean, because the things that we pass, it really affects every citizen's life. We passed, I know Representative Dana McClain had a bill where you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote. And I had it last year and it didn't pass. It was a word, I think it was said, the word was we, But anyhow, some of the members caught on to it, and it didn't pass last year. I brought the same bill up again this past session and let Dana get up there and present the bill at the well. And she had a few questions, and it passed with flying colors.
Right.
Got down to the Senate, and the Senate chairperson wouldn't even bring it out of committee. He said, we already have that law, and we don't. So, but yeah, it's a Constitution it's a busy committee.
You mentioned you're on more than one of these select committees over the summer and fall. You said you're on the capital improvements for the capital city. You sounded like from early on when we started talking, you expect a lot of things to get done in these select committees. There's 4 of them total?
I believe 4.
Okay.
I know that there's one for PERS. Not sure. I think they still have, or they have one for education. The Capital Revitalization Committee from last year is still intact. The speaker kept it together. So we haven't had any meetings yet. Jackson is our capital city. It's my capital city. And we need a vibrant capital city representing the state of Mississippi. I have people tell me, said, "Oh, don't be giving Jackson any money up there." And I want to tell them, look, that's your capital city. Why do you not want them? Now, I understand what they're saying. They don't want it being wasted. And I feel I have high hopes for Mayor John Horn. I know him from when he was in the Senate, and Mayor Horn, when I heard that, he was going to run, and I know he's ran before and didn't win. I have high hopes that he is going to turn the city of Jackson around. And we, the citizens of the state of Mississippi, need to work with him and support him. And this committee is going to continue to enact things that's going to improve our capital city. I mean, I'm speaking as just a resident state of Mississippi. I'm not happy with it, but I'm optimistic for the future now.
Mr. Chairman, one thing we didn't ask about that I think you mentioned a little while ago is early voting. Is that something you foresee being addressed in the off season this year as well?
Yes, that's something that was going to be talked about. I'm for early voting. Say 15 days before the election, and I feel it's more secure than absentee voting. You go to your circuit clerk's office, they'd hand you the paper ballot, you mark it, and then you put it through the scanner yourself, and it goes into a locked box, and it's done. It's counted. Absentee voting, mail-in ballots. You've heard the horror stories of illegal voting. So if we done away with absentee voting and just do early voting, and there's some folks out there that, I can't absentee vote because I don't have an excuse of being out of town or work. They won't let you vote absentee if you say, unless you're going to be on a rig, oil rig, or your job takes you out of town on that day, then you're going to absentee. But if we had in person early voting, and you go to circuit clerk's office, there's moms and dads just trying to move kids around on voting day to school or a ball game or a church function, and they can't get there to vote. And I used to be an election commissioner before I became a representative. And I'm very, very passionate about if you have the right to vote, I want to make sure that you have every opportunity to go vote. There's our men and women of the military fought to give us these freedoms, and I want us to be able to use it. So, yeah, I'm very much in support of early vote. I probably went down the longest road trying to explain myself, but I'm just voting. To me, it's a passion to me. I make sure that I go vote, make sure my family votes.
Just to clarify, I mean, this really the only difference between this and voting on election day is you would be going to vote at your circuit clerk's office. Basically, the process would pretty much still be the same. You go, present your, some form of photo ID, and you cast a vote. You do it in front of a circuit clerk official.
Well, I told you I talked to my circuit clerk earlier this week, and he likes early voting because he said, you come in, you show your ID, they look you up on the Sims website, verify that you're a registered voter, hand you your ballot, and you vote. He was very much in support of it. Now, I do know in some places the space that they have to work with is limited. And, I think some circuit clerks are worried that they're going to have just a big crowd of people trying to vote. I don't see that. I think you're going to have, it depends on how many, what area you're in, but you might, I'm just taking a guess, 24 folks a day come in to early vote. So and if they're not going to all show up at the same time.
Right. And I believe one thing that Representative Sanford has proposed maybe to kind of alleviate some of these concerns is counties that, if that's an issue for them, then they can have the option to allow voting in like a space next to the circuit clerk's office that's like owned by the county that they could open up for voting. Like an example would be like a courthouse, next to the circuit clerk's office.
Right.
That could be a little bigger.
If they're voting at the circuit clerk's office, then you already have the staff there.
Right. That's true.
So if you're so we'll just say, for instance, in another room in the courthouse, somebody's going to be manning that area. Plus, they got to have the computer so they can look you up on Sims, and it's got to be secure. So that'd be something that this committee discusses, I'm sure, is the locale of where the machine will be.
Chairman Wallace, we've seen a lot of 2027 politics have already heated up. We got the Neshoba County Fair bearing down on us or whatever. I guess we should allow, if you'd like, would you like to announce any run for higher office yourself while you're at the mic?
We keep hoping someone will announce a run for governor on our podcast or something,
right. Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State. Now's your shot.
I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm happy where I'm at. I'm very happy. Just there's counting myself, there's 122 House members, and I enjoy serving with each and every one of them. I know that we have our differences on certain things, but I'm very happy serving in the House with my colleagues. It's a great bunch of men and women. I mean, and they all are compassionate about the state of Mississippi and making sure that the citizens, what the citizens need and will help. They're very sincere about it.
Fair enough. We won't hold that against you. But we appreciate it. We look forward to the meeting that y'all are going to have likely in the fall on these issues we discussed. And I think this is your first time on this podcast, but I hope it won't be the last. And I hope you'll keep us posted on the work y'all are doing.
All right, we'll certainly do it. Enjoyed being here.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.